Hey, y'all. Hey, it's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. Do you know where you're supposed to be? Right here at the Hustle and Shine podcast this evening. I am joined by the lovely Queen Pen, Natima, Sheree. I, of course, am Tiffany, Mathias, the one true Phoenix, and we are missing Mel V, the MBV pen, because it is our girl's birthday. So if you are watching this episode live, drop some birthday diamonds, drop some birthday love in the chat. She's gonna come back and watch it, so it would be great for her to see it. But hey, girl, hey.
Hey, how are you? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Happy birthday to Mel V, the MV Pen. She is certainly missed, but y'all know she celebrates the entire month. So as long as we can get her in the studio next week and the week after, she can definitely have today. But I'm so glad to be here. Another episode. I have been preparing for tonight's discussion. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Listen, when we were in our planning meeting in December and we were discussing what we would have on the show, the topics for January, there was some pushback, like y'all coming in real hot and heavy for January. Like, what happened to easing it in? And we like, no, why? Why ease it in?
Yeah, we just out there. We're just out there. And I will say this: when we were preparing for this show, um, my mini me, that girl's like she hears everything. Like her hearing is insane. And so she approached me after our call ended, and she said, "Mommy, I have some things to say about your topic." And I'm like, "Well, which one?" And she's like, "Daddy issues." And I'm like, "Do you know what that means?" And she was like, "I do." And so she began to just share comments from her own experience with her father. And I just thought they were so mature. And I was going to have her on, but just before we went live, she kind of froze up and tensed up. And I was like, "It's okay, Pumpkin. We'll wait till you're older." But just the fact that hearing the preparation of this episode struck a nerve in my own child. And so I'm glad we're doing the hard things. I'm glad we're having the tough conversations, because if we can have that impact on a child while preparing, can you imagine the impact this is going to have in full discussion after we've prepared? So I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation.
I
A
really
lot.
am too.
Yeah.
But before we get in there, we got some housekeeping that we got to do. Y'all know what you're supposed to do right now. Right now, if you are watching, you need to like, share, comment, subscribe, tag somebody who should be in this room. Doesn't matter whether you think they have daddy issues, they've said they've had daddy issues, they are the issue, whoever it is. This topic for this series for the entire month of January is community broad. This is not, this subject and this topic and this episode is dedicated to the women. And tonight, just because we're discussing daddy issues doesn't mean that this is just strictly for the men. No, this is about healing the community. So again, go and tag a friend, let them know we're here. Because that's what we're doing. And additionally, the Queen Pen still having some issues with her Facebook. So somebody go and drop this on her page so that her followers can see it until, Facebook will be nice to her and let her back into her account.
Right. I think Meta is mad. Meta's like, "Yo, she been gone for months. Forget her." Like, no, know her. So yeah, if someone could do that, and to the Diamond Writer page, because it's also been cut off. So please.
So first of all, before we even get started, Meta, you've been off, but Mr. Zuckerberg came on to Beyonce's internet and said that Instagram and Facebook were going to be cutting back on their fact checkers and all that other stuff
Oh, I saw that
to
foolishness.
empower free.
I saw the
Sir,
foolishness. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see his press conference and his reasons why?
I
Did you?
heard about it. I did not see it. Girl, I love me some social media and I'm always on it. Even I am limited on what it is that I'm seeing, hearing, and exposing myself to. Apparently, there's a list going around of people who we're not supposed to be listening to and supporting anymore because they're going to be performing at the Orange Show on Monday. But that's a different subject for a different time. I saw the
Right.
eye roll. But what
Girl.
did he say?
I mean, I don't remember everything verbatim, but pretty much it was a bunch of BS that he was scooping. And at the end of the day, the only people that are going to be happy with this change are, Trump's people. So I'm like, I would have respected him more if he just came out and said, I'm trying to win the favor of, our new felon presidential elect. But yeah, it was all BS. It was legit like trash. And I was sitting there watching it on the news, and I was like, okay, all right. So yeah,
Well,
it's bogus. If anyone's interested in reading the article, y'all know I'm going to prefer to read. So I did read the article on New York Times printed. I will share the link to that. That was a great read because New York Times pretty much called him out like, yeah, you're full of okay, like what you talking about? Like, yeah, really good read, really, really good read. So I'll share that link if anyone's interested. But it's bogus to me.
yeah, I agree. And the last thing that I'm going to say on this subject, and then we're going to move on. I think at this point in time in the history of the United States, that all of these restrictions about felons and everything like that need to be lifted. All of the social services programs that they may not be eligible for, housing developments that they might not be able to live in, because come Monday, one will be living in the most pristine house in this country. And so, yeah, one should be able to live in the PJs. But that's all I got to say about that.
No, I'm in complete agreement with that. Like I co-sign hard with that. I was like you said, last thing I'm gonna say on this subject of this person um taking hold of a okay, nope, because I will get really nasty. Anyway, I was
If you don't
watching
have
all the
something nice to say, we don't say anything at all.
that's it. This year,
We listen and
my
we judge him.
listen, my words this year is stewardship, joy, and honesty. And so none of what I was about to say would have been in alignment with my so I'm just gonna skip that opinion. But I will say this: I'm noticing organizations cutting their DEIB budgets. And I know it
Mhm.
has everything to do with who's getting ready to be in the White House because no one really cares. They were doing the right thing for the 4 years that we had a completely different leader. And so it's really sad to see companies just kind of doing away with their diversity efforts and their intentional, inclusive engagement with that's not our topic tonight. Nope, because y'all know me. I'm in HR. I'll talk about it all day. So anyway, Tiff, what are we
We both
discussing
are.
tonight? We
We both
both are, exactly. What are
are.
we
Right.
discussing tonight?
Right. So getting into the nitty-gritty of tonight's topic, we are going to be hit that banner. We are going to be discussing daddy dilemmas, right? Daddy issues, right? And discussing and unpacking only some of the different types of toxic father paternal figures there are. So, as we were called out last week for not having our definition, we have one. All right. So when we're discussing daddy dilemmas, we're talking about toxic paternal relationships. And this refers to unhealthy, harmful, and or dysfunctional dynamics between a father or father-like figure and a child. These relationships are usually core relationships and set the foundation for the child's emotional, mental, and physical well being. Thus, toxic paternal relationships can have adverse effects on the child, impacting their relationship with self and others. So, that is what we're discussing tonight. Yes.
That was a
Um,
definition. That was
that
good.
is a definition. This is what happens when you tune into writers who know how to do research.
That part, who study to show themselves approved. Okay. We don't just get on here talking a bunch of opinions. We have a lot of opinions, but we're going to make sure that we still fact check. We actually still believe in fact check. One thing I want to say, Tiff, before we start the discussion, I love to drop this disclaimer. We are not credentialed, licensed professionals. We don't claim to be. We do not appoint ourselves to tell you how to live your life. We simply like to discuss in open forum, topics that we've either experienced, have been affected by, or have watched people we care about be affected or impacted by. One thing I want to also say to the men, our gents who support this show and this platform, this is not at all an attack on you or anyone you know who may have these parental challenges. We give men the same grace we give women. We talked about, toxic mothers and mommy issues last week, and we had a lot of grace for women who are struggling and who cannot show up for their children because of their struggles. And we're going to do the same for men. We are not oblivious that men deal with emotional challenges and mental illness and hardship, and that they are often dealing with the exact same things that women are. But the world has created safer spaces for women to emote and to process, whereas men don't really have that type of support. So we are not here to attack you. We are not here to belittle you. We're not here to expose you. We're simply here to help the same way we did last week. So we hope that you would have an open mind, that you would be willing to dialogue with us in the comments instead of judging the show and speaking poorly against the show. Watch the show in its entirety. Don't let media fool you by showing you a clip of the show and then you run with that, saying that these are men bashing females, because that's not at all who we are. We love men, okay? Especially chocolate beer. Nope, sorry. I'm serious. Shout out my back. We ain't talking about health. Okay. Go ahead, Tiff. Back to you.
Ooh. The Diamond Riders love them some Death by Chocolate, where it go from vanilla all the way up to the look, goosebumps.
Ooh, girl, honey. Hey, okay. Thank you, Lord, for the work of your hands. Go ahead.
This is now time for you to make sure that you are tagging that gent in your life, ladies. If you are in the space, call them, be like, get on over here, watch it. It's on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram right now. All right.
Right now.
So in our research, Natima and I each went and did our own, and then we came back to the board, and it turned out we had one particular father on both lists, and that is the absent father. And right now, in this moment, we are not talking about a deadbeat daddy. Absolutely not. We're not even discussing him tonight. He gets no airwaves tonight. But when we're talking about the absent father, we're talking about a father who can either be absent physically or emotionally. Mm-hmm. And the physically absent father takes care of the responsibilities. Oh yeah, the child support is paid. The little league, the extracurriculars, those are all paid. But he does the bare minimum when it comes into actually partaking in the child's rearing, right? And so this is the father who I'm going to discuss, the one who will gift you with his presence instead of his presence, right? So there's this movie by the Wayans brothers, the Wayans family, absolute comic geniuses. If you don't agree, argue with yourselves in the comments. But the Wayans family are absolute comic geniuses. And I think it's their movie, Don't Be a Menace to Society, while drinking juice in the hood. And Sean's character comes to the door and he's like, I'm here to pick up my son. And then, it's the bitter back and forth. And then the kid comes to the door and he's like, hey, son. He picks him up, spins him around, puts him down. He's like, I'll be back next week.
The accuracy of some fathers, but yeah.
He didn't say he was doing anything else but coming to pick up his son. And that he did not lie.
All right. Yes.
So the impact that this has, the absent father, it leaves a kid feeling unworthy. Like,
yeah,
what is it that my dad is doing that is more important than me? So then children who love to internalize stuff, because we always tell them to stay out of grown folks' business, but that doesn't stop us from talking grown folks stuff around us. And little ears hear everything except when you call them to come and clean up the room, right? So they hear you when you're talking to your girlfriends or your sisters or whatever, when you're talking about him not being there. They see for themselves like, hey, I have this game coming up. I have this activity that's coming up. All of the dads are going to be there except for my dad. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
dad paid for the uniform, paid for the lessons or whatever it is, but he's not there to witness me perform or play in the game that
Right.
becomes the culmination of all of the practice and all of the hard work, right?
Right.
And then the long-term effect of this becomes them being emotionally detached themselves because
Yeah.
the emotional attachments that they're supposed to begin to form with men or with male
Mm-hmm.
figures is not there. So then
Yeah.
now they're like they've put themselves in this little box and they're cut
Mm-hmm.
off from other connections. So that's what I'm throwing out there.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, no, and like you said, I love that that was on both of our lists. One of the quotes that I saw that I really liked, it said, absent fathers can be physically or psychologically absent from the child's life. So in this case, like you said, emotionally. And I did a deep dive. I was down the rabbit hole, and they were talking about how clinically the term used to be, or originally was, father complex. And what that meant was, my dad is, here. He's in my life. I know him. I have a relationship with him, but he spends more time outside of the house doing whatever it is that he's doing, and he's not as invested in the development and the raising and rearing of the child. So they're helping to provide, they're playing the role of a guardian, but they're not being a father, they're not being a daddy. And so I thought that was really interesting to read. And I mean, these were stories from grown men of all walks of life, all races, and they were just sharing their story about the effect and the impact their fathers had, because it was almost like a tease. Like, my dad's here, so I'm not in the bucket of children who have no father or who have a deadbeat daddy, but he's not engaged. He's detached. He's not involved. And that was more painful to them than if he were just not around.
Mm,
Um, that, you know what I'm saying? It was like almost like a ghost. Like, you're here, you're not dead, but you're not here. And so anyway, I just thought that was really interesting to hear. And one of the things that, y'all know, I always like to introduce an attachment style. And the attachment style that came up in that article was attachment wounding. For those of you who don't know what that means, I will define that in a second. But go get the book Attachment. Such a good read. I brought that up last week. I'm bringing it up again because it was a really great read. But hold on, I want to read the definition in that article where it talked about that attachment style. It says attachment wounding is a psychological injury that occurs when someone feels betrayed or abandoned in an intimate relationship. It can happen in childhood and carry into adulthood, especially those impacted by abuse, neglect, or rejection from a parent. That was so severe. And so I hope that helps someone who's like, man, I've had daddy issues, but I had no idea I'm also dealing with attachment wounding. And there's help for that, and we'll be talking about that later when we talk about the prescription. But those are all the comments I had on that likeness that we had with that, the physically or psychologically absent father. You
yeah,
want to
thank
tackle a couple of more personas?
Yeah, I definitely want to
Yeah.
tackle on a couple more personas, but I want to give some acknowledgement to our audience who is here. So, of course,
Yes.
we got Shell Mac in the house coming to
Hey,
us from
Shell.
Facebook, dropping some diamonds, letting us know that she is here.
Hey, Michelle.
And then we have Diamond Danger. I love the fact that her name just it says she should be here, right?
Okay, period.
We're gonna get her on this show one day, but she's been tuning in with us for the last few months, and she says, "Hello, ladies. Happy New Year. Welcome back,
Happy
Diamond.
New
Happy
Year.
New Year." She also
Glad
said
you're
you was
here.
about to start talking about a different daddy
Girl,
discussion.
honey, okay, listen, talk about it. What?
She was about to start having zaddy conversations with the Z. Ooh, tune in February when we talk about relationships.
When we
Shameless
talk
plug.
about, yes, exactly. No, that was definitely the way the conversation was headed.
Yes, and then just one more coming in. We have Tierra Berry. Miss Sweet writes, I overcompensate in many areas of my life because of the lack of a father figure. Come on through,
Mm,
Sweets, with the vulnerability, and thank you for
yes.
sharing.
Thank you for your truth. We really appreciate that.
All right. So here we go. Another type of persona we have coming in, the overly critical father.
Oh boy.
You just can't get nothing right in that daddy's eyes. You
Mm-hmm.
can be the star quarterback, you could be valedictorian, you can be the princess of all princesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
daddy only ever sees and points out those flaws in you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
this can lead to I'm skipping ahead. Let me stop because we got to come back to that. And then my favorite, and this is going to be the one that I'm going to want to spend some time on, the sexist or the misogynist father, the one who his son can do whatever, but his daughter better not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She bet not never.
She better not ever. They celebrate the son doing the exact same things and then they chastise, then discipline their daughter if she were to do it too. Yeah, those dads
Yep.
are they something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the other two that I had, and you had a couple more for the people for us to be able to discuss tonight.
Yeah. So I wanted to highlight the controlling father, the father who desperately wants their son to be, a star athlete, or, like you said, they want their son to achieve something. And so they push them and force them to do things that they have zero interest in, they're not dedicated to, and then they almost punish them because they don't want to do it. And so they withdraw, in the relationship, or they talk down to them, or they just belittle them or make them feel like they're not as masculine. I despise those kind of fathers who intentionally make their sons feel emasculated simply because he is not performing in the areas you consider to be manly and masculine. So those are dangerous fathers. And then the other one I wanted to talk about, um, which, ladies, y'all not gonna like this comment, but I ain't scared of y'all. That workaholic father. Y'all are turning a lot of y'all boyfriends and husbands into this man because you want this particular type of lifestyle. You want to be a pillow princess, and you want, your man to be this unrealistic provider. And so you're encouraging and forcing him to work constantly, to grind constantly. And then he's not home. He's not present in the home, not because he's not being a good father, but because he is obsessed with working and providing and consuming and acquiring things to make you and the children happy. Um, and not all women are to blame. Some men are just this way innate. They're like this on their own. I know men. I have uncles. My brother is like that. My older brother, love him dearly. He works all the time, always working, taking a side job, doing some extra hustle work, always out here doing something. And society has unfortunately made that father or that man seem like he is the demand and he is the reward, or he's the prize, and really the children are the one who suffer from that type of father and that type of father figure or stepdaddy or whatever role he plays in your home and in your life. And the reason I wanted to call women out is because, again, that is a trend right now, or it was when I was on social media. I've been gone for a few months, I don't know, but it was like, oh, my man got to work, he got to provide for me, and I got to have this life. And now your babies are missing their daddy. So that's the other father I wanted to talk about, the workaholic daddy. That's it.
Let me unmute
I'm
here.
quiet now.
No, no need to be quiet because we got a lot to say and a little time to say it in. And
Yeah.
so the discussion is now the impacts. And one of the things that I want to find out from the audience is, are they starting to see how the cycle builds? That
Mm,
because the child was raised by a parent who parented a certain way or behaved in a certain way, it caused them to be adults of a certain way. So now going back
mm,
into this overly critical father,
mhm,
someone who, regardless of what the child does, they have low self-esteem, they they work towards obtaining perfection, And if you are real with yourself, you know that there is no such thing as perfection. Like perfection is a falsehood. Nothing
Yeah.
ever in life is perfect. And the one thing that
Mhm.
was gifted to us in perfection is gone.
Come
So
on. Come on, testify. I love that.
so then when you start operating out of a mindset of perfection, you constantly are grinding, you are constantly overachieving. The
Mhm.
number one educated demographic in the United States right now are Black women.
Mhm.
We are
Yep.
out here collecting degrees and certifications like they're Pokemon cards. And some of this stems from the fact that we could not do enough to please our fathers in their
Yep.
like or the only recognition we ever got was when we had gold stars on the top of our paper. We were on honor roll. You know, we were coming home with all of the certificates and stuff like that. So I don't
Yeah.
know if I threw a stick out there and it hit someone, because my sister says a hit dog will holler. But I know
Mhm.
for me, that is definitely something I've spent years of therapy in recognizing that I am worthy outside of the things that I'm good at. So
Yeah.
there is something good in my imperfections or the things that I have flaws in. So
Mhm.
um and then coming back over, I had addressed already the absent father, you know, the emotionally absent father, the difficulty of maintaining connections with people. You just don't get it. You
Yeah.
were never taught how to form an emotional bond or attachment with someone that is healthy and not and doesn't come with limitations or like this list of things that you have to do in order to make that connection.
Yeah.
And then lastly, um, with the the um the sexist father or the misogynist father, you have difficulty expressing yourself because you just never know. We live in a society now that gender norms are no longer norms, right? So
Mhm.
in some households, women earn more money than the man, but that doesn't make him less than.
Right.
It's just that like he might be the one to make the dinner and she's the one. It's so blended and cross functional now. But if
Mhm.
you operate coming out of gender norms and misogyny, then you can, as a man, you are offended and appalled if the woman makes more than you. If you're a woman, you come in where it's like, what did you call her? A pillow princess, and her man needs to go to work and do all of the XYZ, and she gonna stay at home like
Mhm.
Ted Bundy eating bonbons.
Right.
That's not healthy, nor is it conducive to this lifestyle that we're and the way we have to live life in 2025. Everybody,
Exactly.
everybody need to work.
That part. That part, especially to survive nowadays. And too much of anything is unhealthy anyway. So a
Yes.
man that works too much, it becomes unhealthy. I think everybody deserves work-life balance. Everybody deserves to be able to reset and take those breaks. But that's we're gonna say that for another show where I could really go in.
Yes. And I got the book for that one. Rest is resistance.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, yeah. Because I got so much to say about women who are like that, but not tonight. Not
But yeah,
tonight.
at the same time as you said earlier, that society has created a safe space for women to now step into their soft girl season and relax in their femininity or whatever. But it does not allow, or it becomes very judgmental and kind of like looked at side eye when a guy
Mhm.
says he wants to rest or he does not want to do these things. A perfect example that I'm going to give, and then I'll pass it to you. My auntie, everybody auntie Tab Brown, right? Tabitha came in, and she said when she started, her goal in blowing up and building out herself as a brand was to retire her husband, who was, I believe Chance was a police officer for the LAPD. When it was announced that he was retired, the way that the girlies were in her comments talking about, not you out here taking care of a man, a kept man, this, that, next to another. That woman said her goal was to get to a point where she could retire her husband, who had provided for her and her family through, read her books, up and down through her medical conditions, her issues that she was going through, and all this other stuff, that she wanted to now be able to give thanks and appreciation back to him by saying, you ain't got to do it no more, baby. Matter of fact, come in the company with me and we could do this together. But they were shaming this man for retiring from his job because his wife had decided that she was going to now move forward with it. And again, that's that toxic norm showing up in people. Why couldn't Chance rest? Why couldn't he, without being called a bum? Because that'd be the first thing somebody will call a man who ain't working as hard as they think his counterpart is. Off the rip, he a bum.
Right. And I was just getting ready to say that. I was going to say, ladies, you do not have to work your man hard for you to have a soft life. That is not how it works. Especially if you stop equating a soft life to materialistic things, because that has nothing to do with a soft life. Because some of y'all got a lot of material things and a lot of possessions, and you taking all the trips and you still hard as hell. But that's a show for another night, because I swear I could go down that path, but I'm going to stick to we talking daddies tonight. Okay.
Let's stick to the notes. What you got?
Because girl, yeah, because you done struck a nerve. You know how I feel about these women out here. Anywho, some of the research that I did, I'm gonna first address the women and how the impact of their daddy issues or daddy complex shows up. And this is not all. So if this is not you, you can skip right past this part. We're not talking to you. We're probably talking to the woman next to you or behind you. But women who only date older men because they're seeking, that validation from that father figure. They're looking for that assurance and that reassurance from that man. And so they tend to prefer to date older men to fill that daddy void and that daddy hole. And he didn't have to be absent or a deadbeat for you to still have that hole. He could have been right in the living room while you were in your room, and you still have developed a daddy hole. Abandonment fears, I think that is unisex. I think that's co-ed, right? That is men and women who have had fathers walk out, come back, stick around, play the hero for a couple of days, and then leave again. It creates those abandonment fears. For men in particular, repeating those toxic patterns. And it's unfortunate that in our culture, and I'm not just talking BIPOC culture, I'm talking Western culture. In our culture, there are things that we are taught, and then there are things that are caught, that we watch, that we observe, and then we absorb, and then we do it, right? We repeat it. We repeat the cycle. We repeat the generational patterns. And that's the unfortunate thing about a lot of men who had toxic fathers or absent fathers or bad fathers, whatever. We do tend to see that pattern in their parenting style, excuse me. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically about men. Another thing that is co-ed that I was reading about is struggling with trust and struggling with intimacy. A lot of men and women only allow people into their space, but so much. And when I say into their space, I'm not talking sexually, because y'all be out here busting it wide open, and it don't matter. But when it comes to a conversation, when it comes to getting to know them, to really understanding who they are as a person, getting to know them beyond their favorite drink at the bar or their favorite song on your playlist, like really understanding who they are, we tend to put up those walls. We don't want to talk. We don't want to let people in. I have a friend, and his relationships last about 8 months, like between 6 and 8 months, because that's usually the time where women are trying to go deeper and trying to get to know him. And because of his trust issues and those insecurities from, his issues with his father, he don't let nobody in. no friends, no females, no nothing. And so again, I'm not attacking anyone. I'm just sharing data and research. So please don't come for me. Y'all could go in my inbox because I ain't in there no more. But anyway, the last one, no, because they used to hit me in my inbox. I'm not in there no more. I don't care. The last one, though, again, co-ed, this is both men and women, is the attention seeking. This one in particular really hurts me when it comes to women. And I'm just going to give an example, again, not coming for nobody, but women will post a selfie. It could be provocative. It could be a regular selfie, but there's this whole caption of this is a self-love post and I'm doing this because I love myself so much. And really it's an insecurity outcry. And if you're not discerning, you don't catch that. If you don't know how to read energy and read people, you would completely think, oh, that's just a really nice selfie and she's loving herself. But oftentimes, for those of us who know better, we can look and say, oh, that poor baby, she's looking for validation. She's looking for someone to love on her. She's looking for someone to validate what she said about herself because she doesn't believe it or he doesn't even believe it. And a lot of that, again, comes from those daddy holes and those daddy voids. Is that attention seeking? And there are other ways people do it. I'm just picking on the selfies because I'm always picking on social media. But that's just one of the ways that we see that manifest. So those are the impacts that I jotted down. There were so many more in a lot of the research that Tiff and I did, but those were the ones we thought were the most relevant and critical to tonight's discussion. So yeah, that's it. I ain't going no deeper.
I'm over here. You know what? I done went down the rabbit hole as we're sitting here talking. Y'all know I'm forever with a pen and paper over here scribbling, taking notes. We completely
You had a
forgot.
Tiffany epiphany. You had a Tiffany epiphany.
It is another Tiffany epiphany because we completely forgot a father, and this one, the complacent, enabling, passive father who.
Girl, yes. How did we forget him? I think I have him on my list. Okay, no, but go ahead. Break him down for people because I got some comments on that father. Go ahead.
This is the father who avoids conflicts at all costs. He might be called a wimp in some places, right? Or what was that? It was another word that I think Kevin Samuel used. It wasn't whipped. It was something else. A simp. Yeah, he might be a simp. Too afraid to speak up on something pertaining to the kids. Like, that kid shouldn't be doing something, the kid out there doing it, and you say nothing to it. Matter of fact, the kid is out there doing the utmost, and you are covering for them instead of allowing them to face the consequences of what their actions are, right? He fails to set boundaries for the children, which could then be harmful. And an impact of this is you never advocate for the child, right? Something's going on with the kid. You never properly advocate for the child. The child is failing at school, comes home and says it's because the teacher doesn't like them. But instead of going up there to find out what it really is, you just allow the child to just coast along because no child left behind. And it's like your kid gets to the 10th grade and can barely read, see, spot, run because
I did not want to laugh. Lord Jesus, we got 10th graders reading on the first grade level.
And the crazy thing is when this type of complacent, enabling, passive father gets with a woman who is all messed up in her toxic masculinity. So if he even attempts to say something, she shuts that down.
Yep.
She makes him feel this big. And therefore it's all out of control. I'm sorry. I don't know how we missed him because he need a voice in here tonight because ain't nobody, because he ain't speaking up for himself. So somebody got to speak up for him.
Somebody got to speak for him. And and maybe I'm wrong about the persona, but I feel like those type of fathers also have the tendency to over spoil their daughters, overprotect them, do everything for them. My ex-husband teeters that line because my daughter is like, you know what I'm saying? Like super, super spoiled. But she's not like toxic level spoiled. She's close. And it's not that he doesn't speak up for himself, but I feel like those fathers are really setting their daughters up to fail, because who gonna date that? Like, I'm sorry, like, who is gonna date that when you done created all these unrealistic expectations in your daughter? You've given her everything. Like you said, there are no boundaries, there are no rules. She can have whatever she wants. Like, I'll just give somebody an example in case people scratching their head, like, what is Natima talking about? I don't want to say his name because I ain't gonna put him out there. He might be mad at me. I don't want him mad at me. But I know someone who allows their little girl to eat off his plate. And I'm like, yo, your future son-in-law is gonna hate your guts. Like, literally, if she wanted that, her little tail should have ordered that. Why is she reaching over to your plate with her fork? That is gonna go from doing that on daddy's plate to doing that on my boyfriend's plate, and then your boyfriend gonna be mad at you. I'm just saying, like, that level of spoiling, like, no, she need boundaries. If you wanted this lobster tail, you should have ordered this. Keep your fork over there, because now your future son-in-law is going to hate you, because that's your fault. That's on you. You should have took the fork out of her hand and tossed it across the room, but instead you letting her eat off your plate, and now she think this is how all relationships work with men. No, girl. So yeah, I'm just saying.
This is the thing that I want to address right now. All of these imbalances when it comes down to the relationship, because we're specifically talking about the parent to the child. Last week was about the mother to the son and the daughter. This week is about the son, the father to the son and the daughter. Tune in. Is it next week or in 2 weeks when we discuss the family? Like,
that's
the
2 weeks from now.
whole
Yep.
way that these dynamics start to mingle and mash up together. Somewhere in the comments, I just saw it. It was Tiara. She said, that sounds so messy. All of these dynamics are hella messy. They're hella messy. And what we have to understand, and the reason why we're talking about this, is because all of this mess eventually leaves the house and goes into other houses, other homes. It goes into other relationships. It spills over. And then what happens? Lather, rinse, repeat.
Yep. It
So yeah,
evolves, it metastasizes. Like you said, it just grows and gets bigger and starts to consume and attach other relationships. We see it in the workplace. Like, there are women that I work with who clearly their father has never told them no. We see it on American Idol. My dad said I can sing. Yeah, well, Simon's telling you you can't. Like, what the hell? Like, we just create these unreal.
your voice,
No, because
your
those be the
voice is
worst.
only equipped for tile acoustics, not
Like,
auditorium and stadium acoustics.
girl, we got people leading songs at church in the choir. You can't sing. That's a joyful noise, but you cannot sing, honey. I don't care what your father said. I don't care that he's deacon first row. Like, no, you can't sing. But anyway, my point is, we make these things. We make these things bigger than they need to be, and then they leave the home, and they're in the workplace, and they're in the community, and they're on the cheer squad, and they're on the baseball team, and then we cannot contain it because it started in the home. So yeah, like, we can go on and on about that topic, but I'll stop there because we need to check the comments again and then leave some time for our prescription.
Exactly. All right, so hopping on in here, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Let's see who we got here. Okay, Diamond came back in the space. She said, I see like adjacent qualities of some of these terms with my dad and step pops. I love them both and they've done their best, but sometimes
No.
And that's exactly what it is that we're here to talk about. Like, another thing is that a lot of these because these are all types, right? And so people can have all of these, some of these, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But what is it that we do once we've recognized that there's a problem, right? We're feeling bad, there's an ache, whatever it is, we go to the doctor says you have this thing, right? We call a thing so that we know how to treat it. So now that we know that there are some situations where daddy dilemmas, we have these toxic father types and father figure like situations, it's time to start discussing what some of the solutions are to them. And we can, go back and forth with them, like specific father type, or a lot of these have very similar and blanketed solutions.
Mhm.
I will start us off with all of them start with initiating some type of conversation and dialogue with the father,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Can't be sitting here harboring all this animosity inside of you about your dad or your father, your uncle, whoever it was, if you don't sit down and have a mature loving conversation with them. I used to use the term difficult, and then somebody was like, no, let's put a different spin on that. It's a loving conversation, right? It could
Mhm.
have some intense moments in it, but the solution at the end of the point at the end of the day is to get a solution. And so these are loving conversations. What I
Mhm.
want to say is based on what how some of these fathers were raised themselves, calling them to task may not be easy. And so you may
Right.
just need to be prepared for the fact that you may not get the solution that you think you want from them.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So yeah, start initiating some conversations with these fathers. um Appreciate the fact that he either learned this or observed this, and this is how and why he is, and give the same grace and understanding that we want for ourselves, extend back to them that, listen, at the end of the day, this is just a human being who is trying to exist in a crazy world just like you are.
Yeah.
And then the next one is we've talked about it. I've talked about it. But the reparenting of the wounded inner child, right?
Mhm.
Start reparenting yourself, which means speaking into yourself. You're worthy of your existence. That will help with the feelings of abandonment and low self-esteem. um Practice setting healthy boundaries with people, including that toxic father who may not
Mhm.
want to have the conversation and be held accountable for what he did or didn't do to you or for you, right? So start setting healthy boundaries with that person and then the other people in your life. And then another one that I'm going to give before we pass to the queen pen is understand that I'm about to get emotional, right? Because I in my life I've been fortunate enough to have two dads, and they have both taught me different things at different times, because what I believed one may have lacked or not have enough or did not have enough knowledge in to teach me, the other one has. But understand that your dad or your father figure who we're discussing here tonight, they're really not the bad guy. They're just a victim of the circumstances as well. And sometimes we can't even go back because the trauma is within the lineage of the family, going back generations and generations and generations. And so you may have to just be like, you know what? This stops and ends here with me, and be bold and brave enough to move forward with that.
Yeah. That's good. I wanted to acknowledge the comment from Diamond. I didn't see the second part of her name, but I feel you, sis. I completely agree. Some of our fathers, stepfathers, uncles who stepped up to be fathers, godfathers, all of them, some of them were just doing the best that they could. Um, a lot of our fathers, especially if you're of our age group, knowing what they grew up dealing with, right? And some of the intentionality and systemic forces that were against fathers. It's not all of it's their fault. There are some fathers who made the choices they've made, and there are some who were kind of forced into certain decisions. And so we definitely have grace for them. Um, just some of my advice for healing. One of my favorite people on the planet. I mean, I'm literally obsessed with her. It's probably unhealthy, but Jackie Hill Perry. She said in a testimony that she used to think her father's absence was punishment, but it was really protection. And so some of you are dealing with daddy holes, and you think that you've been punished and that God is picking on you, and that it's been unfair not having your father around. But sometimes it's protection, because you don't know what you would have been exposed to, what he would have had you around, who he would have had you around that may have been unsafe. So my advice for you, um, is discover your needs, open up about your wounds. And that's more so for our men. Men, I know that we have not done the best job of providing and cultivating a safe space for you. We have not made the same effort to make sure that you can emote in safe spaces and that you can be vulnerable without it later being weaponized. And I just want to apologize to you for us. We need to do better at that. However, you need to reconcile your childhood experiences the same way women do. You need to be okay with sitting on someone's couch once a week, twice a week over a Zoom and discussing your childhood, what you lacked, what you missed, what you wanted, what felt bad, what hurt. It's okay to talk about it in those safe spaces.
Mhm.
That's how you begin healing the insecurities caused by your daddy voids and holes and daddy issues. I also encourage you to explore healthy and positive male role models. You are never too old to have a man that can act as a father for you. You could be in your 50s, find a man in his 70s. Everybody deserves that father figure, someone to love on them, because it's hard to believe that a heavenly father loves you when your earthly father was trash. And I just mean that like in full honesty. Um, the last thing I want to say, and this was really heavy on my heart in prayer this morning when we were preparing for this show today. I don't know who this is for, but try your best not to internalize your father's decisions, whether his decision was to be absent, abusive, neglectful, mean, controlling, misogynist, whatever decision he made, do not internalize it, because it's not your fault. Do not carry the weight of his flaws. Do not carry the weight of his mistakes. You are not to blame. You were a child. You didn't ask to be here. You didn't ask for that situation. So please free yourself and liberate yourself from the shame of your daddy issues. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Many of us have grown up that way. Many of us are still healing from it in our 40s and 50s and 60s. It is not abnormal in the BIPOC community. And so I just encourage you to please stop blaming yourself. Somebody is blaming themselves for what their father didn't do, and it is not your fault. And so that is a conversation I have to constantly tell my daughter. She thinks that it's something she did, that her dad is in and out, and it has nothing to do with her. It is his own selfishness, his own pain, his own issues. And so I say that to you, grown man, grown woman, who may be carrying the weight of your father's mistakes in his absence. It is not yours to carry. So those are all the things that I wanted to say in terms of support and prescription for your healing. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to do the work. Seek the therapy, the counselor, the pastor, the deacon, whoever you're willing to talk to. I encourage you to talk to them. So that's all I have. That's all I have, Phoenix, on that.
Yeah, there's a comment that just came through that I want to share, and this is coming through from Tanisha Alexander. It says, "It's okay to realize that someone's best is not necessarily good enough for us. It may have been their best, but perhaps we need more than their best or what they were capable of." So, in other words, it is okay to know your value and say you want more. You
Yeah.
deserve more.
Yeah.
It's okay to know that as a child, because
Mm-hmm.
as you said, baby girl was ready to come in here at what are we, 8 years old?
Mm-hmm.
8 years
Yep.
old, with her testimony about what that impact is, because as soon as a child can talk and express themselves verbally, or even if they
Mhm.
can't, they're doing it through song, they're doing it through dance, they're doing it through art. As soon as they're able to say, hey, this hurts, I don't like how this situation is making me feel. We need to
Yeah.
honor that.
Yeah.
Her saying it 8 or 18 does not change the fact that she feels how she feels. Matter of
Yep.
fact, we need to give her all the flowers for being 8 years old and being able to put into words what it is
Mm-hmm.
that she's feeling, because we have people who are in their 20s, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who cannot express that what they're
Yeah.
feeling is disappointment in the fact that they did not have a certain type of relationship or dynamic with the people who brought them into this existence.
Yep. Yep. That's good. That's so good.
Yeah,
I see we got a lot of comments popping. Do we want to
we
check the comments
do.
before we
We
drop a
do.
gem?
Yeah, there are so many comments coming in here. You know, here's one gonna share with a familiar name who says, being a father is one thing, being a black father is a beast. You're not really lying on that one there, darling.
Oh,
Not at all.
oh,
Because there are certain conversations as a black father and as a black mother, but tonight it's about the father. There's certain conversations that as a black father you have to have with your child that other people in other communities do not have to have.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's another show. Let me write that down. That's another show. That's a whole
Come
other
on.
topic.
Them Tiffany epiphanies be the truth, honey.
Yes. So I think we did a great job engaging with our community, with our viewers coming in. We had we had our gems and our gents in here tonight. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing more of them come in. But it is
Mhm.
time for us to move in the show, and it is time for us to give you our final thoughts.
Here's a gem. Do you
You
want me
want
to
to
go
go
first?
first?
I would say, do you want me to go
She
first?
gave me a go. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sure. So pretty much my gem, and I just wanted to say that, all of us are affected by how we were parented in some way, whether good or bad. We've all been affected by the parenting style of our mother and father. While you can't change your past, whatever that may look like, you can change how you view your childhood and how you view yourself as a result of your childhood experiences. And so that is my gem for tonight, is to look at yourself through the lens of who you are, not necessarily what your experiences have been. Some of us are who we are because of what we've been through and how we were shaped by the choices our parents made that forced us to then make our own choices, or despite their choices, we've made other choices. And so not all of it is bad. And I feel like nothing is wasted. Like everything can be used to make us who we are, and for us to explore that. So that's my gem for tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet, right? Um, Looking at the climate of the world that we're in right now, there's so much travesty and heartbreak and heartache that is happening. Sometimes all you need to do is look out your window to see that the state of the world is in pain. I encourage everybody who's watching now live or listening to the playback later on, find a moment of joy in your day. I promise you, as bad as it feels, as much depression, anxiety, and trauma you have in your life, somewhere there is a glimmer of joy. So, in the
Mhm.
infamous words of the person standing over me, find the silver lining.
Love that. So positive. We love it. We love it. So for announcements, before we go, I know we are at the hour, but this Sunday, 6 o'clock p.m., we are continuing in our journaling workshop series. She wrote what she wrote. Yours truly will be teaching at 6 o'clock on Sunday. So make sure, if you have not already registered for this free 99 journaling session, that you run over to diamondwriters.com/events and register. Honestly, if you just go to diamondwriters.com, it pops right up when you visit the site. Mel made sure you gonna see that thing. So make sure that you go ahead and register, get the link to attend, and we will see you at 6 o'clock on Sunday. Anything I'm missing, Tiff? Anything else?
Yeah, actually, I want to let the community know we have a new batch of diamonds who just, I don't want to say crossed over, but just joined. They will be popping up soon, maybe on the show, maybe in posts or whatever it is. But do know that as this community continues to grow, it is all about community healing. And so we love that you guys are still rocking with us 5 years in.
Yes, yes, yes. This is amazing. Of course, we have our new book coming out in April, Audacity to Live Life in Color. I'm telling y'all, this book is amazing. You're going to love it. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. And I think that's everything that we wanted to share tonight. Oh, prayer call tomorrow, 6 a.m. It is a free prayer call. All you have to do is visit the website to get the link and the invite to join us. If you want us to stand in agreement for you, pray for someone you love or you know, we would love to do that. So if you can't make the prayer call, we know that's kind of early. You can still submit your prayer request on our website as well. We would love to cover you in prayer. So make sure that you can either tune in or just drop your prayer request on our website. And that is it.
That's all for this week. I've been Tiffany Phoenix Mathias. That's been I don't know why I can't talk. I must be hungry. Natima Sheree, the Queen Pen. This has been the Hustle and Shine podcast. Until next week.
Remember to hustle and shine. Good night.
Let's go. Let's go.